Hello and welcome to this episode of Voices of Fostering. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Barney, who's one of our foster carers. Hello, Barney.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, lovely to meet you as well virtually and have a nice chat with you about your fostering journey really, Barney. So I understand it's been 16 years now that you've been a foster carer, is that right?
Yeah, it's gone really quick. I don't feel like it's been 16 years.
Yeah. And you were initially a solo foster carer, weren't you? And
Yeah.
now you foster with your husband. So tell us about that.
Oh, it was different because my husband had never thought he would have children. It was not something that was really in his train of thought. And then we met. We actually met because of one of the foster children because they wanted me to go on a date. And he just became part of the family. It took a long time because obviously it's a big difference not having kids to moving into a house with kids. So we took a really long time for him to actually move in because I didn't want anyone to come unless it was going to last because of the kids.
Yeah.
But it's been great. He's amazing with them.
And what was it 16 years ago that made you decide to become a foster carer by yourself? What led you to it?
My mum and dad fostered. So
Oh,
I've got foster siblings and I'm really close to them. And I always wanted a family. And for me, because I'm so close to my foster siblings, it didn't need to be my child. I knew I could be close to somebody even if they were not my own. Just decided to foster when I changed. I was cabin crew and then I changed from that job, which is a big difference, to start fostering, and I'd never looked back.
So tell us a bit about cabin crew then. You did long haul, didn't you? What was that like?
Yeah. It was brilliant. I loved it. I did a lot of military flights where you took the troops out to places, long haul beaches. So to go from sitting on a beach for 5 days to being at home doing the school run was a big change. But I was glad I did it.
And how long were you cabin crew for then?
11 years.
11 years. And then can you remember, when you first started thinking about fostering and thinking, you know what, I think I'm going to change things. Can you remember that thought process?
Yeah, because I was just getting a bit older. And, because when you crew, you are away a lot and it becomes a bit of a party atmosphere and you're constantly going out. And I just got a little bit older and I was thinking, I want more than this. It's just flying home to an empty house because you can't really maintain a relationship when you're away a lot.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to change. And obviously having foster siblings and speaking to them, one of them in particular, Robert, he's my foster brother. It was talking with him and he was the one that said, you could do this. It'd be easy for you to do it. You've seen everything. Decided to make the change.
Yeah. So how old were you when your parents fostered then? Did you grow up with foster children in your home or were you older?
I was, I think, late teens.
Okay.
I think about late teens. So I'd already left home because I left home quite early. But I wasn't living with them. But but I was a young adult, I would say.
Yeah. And can you remember how you felt when you learned that your mum and dad were going to be foster carers? What you thought?
I knew they'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm really lucky in the fact that I always say, my foster brother is so much like my dad. If you had to put us in a room and said which one is his son, you would pick him. And I think it's because he never had a dad and he really wanted one. Yeah. So he kind of followed my dad around and just listened, whereas I was it's just your dad, isn't it? And you take it for granted. So I don't think I realised how lucky I was until I met children who've been in care and have had negative things, because I had a really good childhood. I can't say anything negative about my childhood. Yeah. So I knew they'd be amazing.
And it sounds like you've been really inspired by your parents and what they did.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What do you think inspired them? Why do you think they decided to do it?
We're from a big family. My mum was one of 16.
Wow.
Yeah, my dad's one of 8. So from a very big family. And after we'd all grown up, my mum she was a good mum. My mum's not here anymore. She passed away.
Okay.
And she was an amazing mum. And she just knew she could carry on. And I said to them when they were going to do it, you'll be amazing. Any kid that comes to live with you is going to have a really good life. And I was right.
Yeah, because if she was one of 16, she's used to having a really busy household, isn't she?
Very busy, very busy.
Yeah. So now you're with your husband. How did that go? Because I think this is a really interesting chat to have and for people to listen to. If they're going into fostering, being a single foster carer, And of course, they might be open to meeting somebody. And you might think, well, what happens if I meet somebody? Like, how does that go? Like, how did it go? What happens?
I think because one of the children had actually asked me to go on a date, because I was quite happy on my own. I hadn't really thought of it. And then they said to me that they're going to grow up and get married and leave home and I'll be on my own.
Oh.
So they made me go on a date. So I went on the date and everything. And then we met, but I wouldn't take him to meet the children because it's a big thing and they've been rejected by so many people.
Yeah.
That I didn't want to start a relationship introducing to someone and then it fizzle out and then that could feel like a rejection to them. So he didn't even meet the children for about 7 months.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know that, this is going well.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of learning curve, because it's different to having your biological child because you've got to go through police checks to make sure you're able to meet them and then go through all the process. It's not just, here's my children, meet them. There's a big thing to get through there.
Yeah. So what do like the agency and your social worker, etc., what do they say to you about if you were to meet somebody? What are the do's and don'ts?
Well, obviously they can't come to your house with the children there. You can't leave them alone with the children because they've not been police checked. I suppose it's similar to what you would do where if I want to leave the children now, I leave them with a nominated carer.
Yeah.
I can't just go and leave them with some random person because they've not gone through all the checks that you have to go through.
Yeah.
And it was my social worker at the time. She just said, take your time, get to know the person. And then if you think they're a nice person, come back after a few months and we can start the process of doing all the legal bits where you have to do all the police checks and we'll come out. I'll meet him personally, which was really funny because it's kind of like meeting your parents too.
Yeah.
Because you meet your parents and then you've also go, right, now you've got to meet a social worker.
Yeah.
And she liked him straight away. She went, he's a nice guy. You can tell he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
But she said, you've done the right thing. You've waited a long time because children that have had rejection, you might not think they'll feel rejected if this person disappears, but you don't know what they've been through.
Yeah.
So just take your time. And that's what we did. We just took our time.
Yeah. But you felt like you had a lot of support in that process.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So if somebody was listening who was single and obviously they don't want to think, I'm not going to date or I'm not going to be open to the possibility of meeting somebody, but they still want to foster. There's definitely your agency and your social worker are definitely open-minded, aren't they? That life happens, things happen, situations change.
Yeah, definitely. Because obviously I've gone in from one thing to a completely different thing.
Yeah.
And they were really supportive because I've only ever been with NFA. I love where I am. I've loved my social workers. I get on really well with them.
Yeah.
It's almost felt a little bit more like a friend who I know I can go and speak to if I've got a problem or there's an issue. So I always felt supported because I knew that it's in their interest for me to be happy as well.
Yeah.
And I think they know you well enough to know that if you're bringing someone into your life, they're a decent person because otherwise you wouldn't, because they've got to know you during the assessment process because that's quite a long time and you end up getting to know your social worker when she's coming to your house. So they've kind of got a good reading of you because they know who you are as a person by this point.
And I imagine they were made up for you, weren't they, that you've met someone and he was really nice.
Yeah, she was.
And yeah.
It's been lovely. And like I said, for him, it was different because never thinking he would ever have children. It just wasn't in his train of thought, even though he was an uncle and he was great with his nieces. It's a big learning curve and trying to be, he never wanted to tell them off. And after a bit, I had to say, right, if they do something wrong, you've got to tell them off because it can't be me every time just being bad cop. If I'd nicked out and one had done something they shouldn't have done, I'd say, no, you need to deal with that because you can't wait for me to come back and then pass it over. You understand? You just want to be a friend.
Yeah.
And you don't want to say anything negative, but we've been, after a while, like you've got to be like another parent.
Yeah, you've got to be more equal.
To know these children, you're going to get to know them and they're going to become part of your life and you're going to get attached to them and they're going to get attached to you. And in order for that to happen, you have to be natural and you have to tell kids like when they're doing something wrong, which all kids do. But we all did. I did.
So tell us what your fostering household's like now, Barney, and what your day-to-day life is like. What's a typical day for you guys?
it's, you know, funny enough, everyone always thinks our life should be really mad because it's a busy house, but it's not. Our house is quite quiet.
Mm.
Because I work part-time as well, I get up early with the kids, take them both to school. One of them's 15 and could get the school bus, but I don't mind taking him anyway because I'm going in that direction.
Yeah.
We've only got one bathroom, so it is quite busy. I tend to get up earlier than them because I do take longer in the bathroom than they do. They'll be just in, do nothing, not clean their teeth, and be ready to go, and I have to send them back in. Chris gets up before me because of his job. He does very, very early starts. So it doesn't really affect him.
Yeah.
School run, off to work. I always finish work before the kids finish school, but sometimes I'll have a gap in between finishing work and picking the kids up, but that's where I have meetings because I tend to finish at 1. So I've got like a gap then where I can fit any like lap reviews, peps. I've got someone coming around this week because one of the children is nearly 18, so he's got a staying put advisor. So I tend to fit a lot of meetings in between them times and then go pick the kids up and then head back home.
Yeah. So what are those? LAC reviews and PEPs. So what are they?
Yeah. Your looked after child reviews
Right.
and the PEP, which is for school. They're really good because I've always worked. I did initially stop work when I first started fostering, but I really missed just being around adults because I was a single carer. So I then took a part-time job, and I'm quite lucky that my hours are really fitted in around school.
Right, okay.
And then the schools have always been great because I give them enough notice to say, oh, any of these days, just between these times. And I've never had a problem.
Right, okay.
And that's when I would fit my meetings in. Sometimes some of them are on Zoom and Teams anyway. And so I just do them from work.
Yeah.
And then other than that, luckily where I work isn't far from the schools.
Yeah.
So I can actually be at school in 15 minutes.
Right, okay.
I'm just lucky that everything kind of joins together.
Yeah.
And that's when I'll fit their meetings in for the looked after child reviews, the PEPs, and then obviously sometimes visits from different social workers, because obviously every child if you've got different children from different families, they've got different social workers. So there's quite a few people involved.
Yeah. And so are you doing a different job now? You've not gone back to cabin crew? You're not nipping to Spain
No.
and back?
No. I'm not like that. Before I was crew, I worked in retail. So I'd gone back into an industry that I knew kind of fits you in because I kind of cover all the lunch times for all the full-time workers.
Yeah.
So I'm there over the busy trading hours, and then I'm able to just disappear as it gets to school time.
Yeah. And obviously some people choose to not have a job as well and just be a foster carer. Some people choose to work. I suppose it's not a one size fits all really, isn't it? Some people, would like to work and some don't want to. But for you, it's quite important to.
Yeah, for me, I liked that. It's more, I suppose, they're more like friends as opposed to people you work with because you spend a lot of time with them. So it's more going to work just for a bit of adult conversation because, especially because Chris works away from home as well. So he can be away for 3-4 days. So if I didn't have the job, I'd probably just be speaking to the children in the morning. In the daytime, I'm kind of on my own that little bit. And then the evening routine starts. So for me, I've just found that I enjoy that. Mm-hmm. It is a lot, especially now I've got a grandchild and I help out with that. It is a lot, but it's something that I personally enjoy. But I would see why some people do think I'm crazy because I'm really busy. Yeah, they do like, why are you doing that? Because you're going literally from one thing to another. Yeah. But for me, maybe because I'm from a really big family, I'm used to kind of that. So it works for me.
Yeah. So you've been fostering for 16 years, Barney, and you've not had that many children, have you? They've all been quite long term. Is that right?
Yeah, I've always done. They've never meant to start it out. Obviously, the first 2 started out as a short-term placement that went into a long-term placement.
Yeah.
And then that happened again. And then a year ago, we decided to add again because the children are getting older and they don't need me as much. Mm-hmm. And I like to be busy. And then another little boy come to stay with us, and that's in the process of being made long-term as well at the moment.
Wow. Yeah, so what do you see the future being like for you? If you sort of could look in 5-10 years in the future, where do you think you'll be? At what stage do you think you'll be? Do you think you'll have more children, or what do you reckon?
I don't know, probably because we said as the middle 2 children were getting older, because our first 2 foster children stayed put, and luckily we've got the space. It's a 5-bed house, so they stayed put. And then of the second 2, one of them's about to stay put again. And then the other one is 15. So they don't need me as much. And that was meant to be it. We're meant to be like, oh, that'll be it. And then I'll just go back to work.
Yeah.
But I just love being a parent. I'm from a really big family. Like I say, I've got a granddaughter now and I have her several days a week. And I just like it. I love working with kids. I love what I do because I find it really rewarding, especially because not everybody's had the start in life that you've had. And that's one thing that I've learned, that how appreciative, especially like my foster brother, how much he loves my dad is because that's all he ever wanted. And how close I am to my foster children, how we've become family. And we've become much closer than I ever really thought I would, how much I love them all. I really do. And that's why a year ago we decided again, Chris was like, are you sure? Because I go away from home a lot. You're the one that's doing it. And I'm like, yeah, because literally with teenagers, they come in, do their homework, and then they put this virtual reality headset on and I'm on my own.
And they don't speak to you. Yeah.
So I'm sitting with the cat. Do you know what I mean? So I just said, no, because if I've got another little one around, you start to do all the things that you had to do, like homework. And I really like that because it's helping someone that's quite behind move on and learn and bring them up. It's lovely. And I'd forgotten how much I'd enjoyed that when you've got teenagers, because they do just say, can I have a lift and can I have some money?
Yeah.
You know, that's teenagers, isn't it? That's what we all do. So having a little one again has been lovely. So I wouldn't say after the youngest is older, we won't do anything, because I've said that before and we've ended up adding to the family again. So I don't know. Probably still fostering.
We'll see. Yeah. So if you were to sum up for anybody listening who's maybe thinking about it, how would you sell fostering to somebody? How would you tell them, like, you need to do this, it'll change your life for the better?
You can probably do more than you ever realise. I didn't realise how much I could do. I probably lacked a little bit of confidence, thinking, can I do this? Even though I'd seen my mum and dad do things, thinking, am I going to be able to do this, especially on my own? But believe in myself more, because a lot of it's quite natural. And for me personally, it has been the best thing I ever did. My life wouldn't be what it is now. I wouldn't even have met my husband if I hadn't started fostering because of one of the children. And I look at my parents and look at how close I am with the children that live with them, and then they've got extended family. So it's really kind of affected me in many different ways. It's been hard. There's been times when some of the children were young and you could see they thought you were going to reject them because they'd been in several different homes, but I got through it. I always used to think, if somebody's really struggling, if they were my children, would I give up on them? And I wouldn't. Mm-hmm. So even through the hardest bits, it was worth it for what we've got now. Like the relationship I've got with my two eldest, who are in their 20s now. I look back at some of the difficult things I went through when they were a bit younger and they were clearly stressed and they'd had a lot of trauma. Look at them now and think, I did that.
Yeah. And
it does make me feel proud of that. I did that. Look at them just going out into the world. One of them's a dad now. That's why I'm a granddad. That's something that's happened. That little child calls me granddad. So yeah, you can probably do more than you realise, and it's very rewarding.
Well, that's a wonderful note to end on. Thank you so much, Barney. It's been so lovely to speak to you, and best of luck with the future.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Voices of Fostering. If you'd like to find out more, head online and search National Fostering Group and make this the year you foster.